could fully explain. Jeffrey Epstein did not rise in public view. There was no headline moment, no celebrated success story. He appeared quietly, in private homes, at invitation-only gatherings. A former school teacher, later a financier. How he built his wealth was never clearly documented, but the wealth was undeniable. Private jets, luxury properties across continents, an island far from public scrutiny. Epstein did not seek fame. He sought proximity to power, to influence, to people who mattered. And power, when unchallenged, rarely asks questions. By the 1990s, Epstein had embedded himself into elite circles. Politicians, business leaders, scientists, royal families. Not as a public figure, but as a connector. Someone who could introduce, arrange, facilitate. Someone useful. By the early 2000s, quiet rumors began to circulate. Young girls, cash payments, private encounters. Stories shared cautiously, often in whispers. In 2005, a formal complaint reached police in Palm Beach. Then another. The accounts were consistent. The details are specific. The investigation began. Slowly, carefully. In 2008, the case ended abruptly. A plea deal. State charges only. No federal prosecution. 13 months in custody. Work release. Private accommodations. For most of the country, the case barely registered. For Epstein, life resumed. What did not resume was public trust. Behind the scenes, records accumulated. Emails, flight logs, witness statements, financial documents, collected, cataloged, sealed. Years passed. Epstein continued to move freely, continued to socialize, continued to gain access. Warnings existed. They were noted, then ignored. In 2019, everything changed. Epstein was arrested again, this time on federal charges. Trafficking, conspiracy. The story broke globally. Finally, there would be answers. There would be testimony, evidence, a full accounting. That moment never came. Epstein died in custody. The ruling was suicide. The circumstances raised questions immediately. Cameras malfunctioned. Guards failed to check. Procedures were not followed. Investigations were promised. What followed instead was uncertainty. Without a defendant, there could be no trial. Without a trial, there could be no compulsory testimony. Without testimony, the story fractured. What remained were the files. The Epstein Files. Not a single archive. Not a single release. A collection of documents spread across courts, agencies, and sealed settlements. For years, they remained mostly inaccessible. Until pressure mounted. Victims spoke publicly. Journalists connected patterns. Civil lawsuits forced disclosure. Courts began ordering releases. Not all at once. Not completely. Fragments. Carefully curated fragments. The latest release followed the same pattern. Quiet publication. Minimal explanation. The files did not accuse. They documented it. Names. Dates. Associations. And in systems of power, association matters. Some names appeared once. Others appeared repeatedly. Across flight manifests. Calendar entries. Email correspondence. Not proof of crimes. Proof of access. The most unsettling detail was timing. Several interactions occurred after Epstein's 2008 conviction. After his history was known. After risk was established. The Epstein case does not reveal a single failure. It reveals how accountability dissolves when responsibility is distributed. Local authorities deferred to federal agencies. Federal agencies deferred to prosecutors. Prosecutors deferred to sealed agreements. Each decision is defensible. Together, impenetrable. This is not how corruption announces itself. It does not arrive loudly. It settles quietly inside process. When Epstein died, the system did not collapse. It stabilized. Cases became historical. Evidence became archival. Questions became abstract. That distinction mattered. Evidence demands answers. History allows debate. The latest files reignited attention because they touched institutions still active today. Government offices, financial organizations, research institutions, places built on credibility. No crimes are alleged in the documents, but credibility is not only legal, it is moral. Why were warnings minimized? Why were concerns dismissed? Why did a convicted offender retain access to influence? Internal communications suggest discomfort. Concerns raised cautiously, redirected efficiently. Questions acknowledged, then postponed. This is how systems protect themselves, not through conspiracy, through inertia. Every release followed the same cycle: shock, outrage, debate, then fatigue. Attention moved on. For the victims, attention never faded. Their accounts remained consistent. Their warnings are unchanged. What failed was not information, it was a response. Settlements closed cases without closing questions. No admissions, no public reckoning. Closure without accountability. Today's Epstein Files are not a conclusion, they are an outline of how power responds when exposure threatens comfort. They show how transparency can be managed without being complete, how disclosure can occur without resolution. Somewhere inside the unreleased material are answers still waiting. Not dramatic answers, administrative ones. Who approved the meetings? Who ignored warnings? Who decided silence was acceptable? Until those answers emerge, the story remains unfinished. Because the most troubling part is not what these files reveal, it is what they quietly suggest is still being withheld. The Epstein Files remain open, and so does the question they refuse to close.